And we are back, and I got my guy Rocky on. And Rocky, I'll be honest with you, I wanted to wear my Josh Allen MVP shirt, and I was thinking about it last night, and I completely forgot today.
Well, let me go get my Bucker jersey. I'll throw it on for the pod. So
Yeah, and so for those who don't know, Rocky and my friendship really came from he's a big Chiefs fan, I'm a big Bills fan. And what we need to do, I love like how Barstool like live streams content with fans. We need to do like the next Bills Chiefs game. You and I should just live stream it. like
the watch party. Hey, Bash, based on your text, man, that might be dangerous. You get crazy for these games. I don't get as crazy as you, but
No,
man, that was,
you stay very level headed. Like even if the remember during the regular season the Bills are up and I'm like freaking out, like they ain't gonna hold on to this lead, and you're like, this makes me nervous. I'm like, why? You have Mahomes.
yeah, you brought the energy a little bit more than me.
Yeah. Oh, that might be fun. All right, Rocky, you're in the news. You hit the portal yesterday. We've been talking about getting you back on, so I said this is the perfect time to shoot a show. So to bring people up to speed, you medical redshirted last year. That was going to be your fifth year, your COVID year. Talk to me about last year, the decision to not compete and kind of dealing with the injuries.
Yeah, it was tough not competing. I mean, I had planned on coming back. I had a shoulder surgery. So let's rewind a little bit. So I guess this would have been 2024 or the season of 2023 and 2024.
Yep.
I I tore my labrum in the Big 12 finals. So this would be March or end of February, beginning of March of 2024. Tore
Yep.
my labrum in the Big 12 finals. I was trying to hit a misdirection shot at the end of the match, um, and Sloan sprawled up and slid off my shot, and then I tore my labrum in that exchange. I didn't know it until the next day, which is I don't know. I feel like kind of uncommon for a labrum injury. I feel like you kind of know, but I
Yeah.
didn't until next morning, and I just remember literally. The next time I had got on the mat, which would have been, probably 2 days later, I couldn't even, raise my arm above my head when I was going to the hand fight. And I remember I just laid down on the mat and I put my shirt over my face and I just started crying because I didn't think I was going to wrestle at nationals. That's how bad it was at the time. And I was just like, my season's done. And, Coach Todd, he really reassured me and he was there for me in this moment. And after that practice, we finished it somehow, and he was like, just trust me, it's gonna be okay. He's like, and for some reason, I really just I trusted that, and I took his word, and it was really really comforting to hear that for me for some
Yeah.
reason. So I took his word and did my rehab the best I can, my rest for that next week and a half, and went to the Nationals on a torn labrum, and I can tell you in my first match, I was feeling good until I hit the first shot, and then I was like, "Oh my gosh, this pain is back like it never left."
Yeah.
And so I was, you know, that was literally in the first exchange that I had at the national tournament, and then got to wrestle and made the semis. And then when I was wrestling Brooks, he was in on a shot, and I kind of turned into him while he had the bottom part of my leg, and I tore my meniscus in that match. So,
Oh.
the last day of nationals, I was, torn meniscus, torn labrum, and it ended up sliding to sixth. But so I got surgery April of 2024 on my knee, and then May of 2024 on my shoulder. And so that recovery, actually, the shoulder's no longer recovery, but we did it that way so I wasn't on crutches after my shoulder surgery. Um, and so I end up,
Yeah, that would have been a mess.
it would have been a mess. It would have been a mess. It would have been shoulder. Um, so I was trying to come back, and I was trying to come back in October, November, that kind of time period to ramp it up, and was planning on making a comeback for my final year, and then sustained another little injury, and it was just a lot of nagging things that were sticking around that it just I wasn't going to be prepared physically. I would have had a lot of recovery to go, and like I said, an important thing for me is just to be prepared from my training,
Yeah.
not even just healthy. It's I got to get healthy, and then I got to, prepare to step out on the mat. So it's both of those things. And if I didn't feel like I had both of those, I wasn't going to use my final year. I was just going to redshirt because I still had my red shirt and use my final year the next year so I could have some more time to get healthy and train. So that's what went into that decision. It was a bummer, but yeah, I had to focus on my rehab and still just, trying to get healthy and training this summer.
Did you give any thought to like maybe I'm just going to be done, or was there just so much of a fire itch to get back that you didn't give it
You
a
know, Bash, it's crossed my mind, and I think any regular person would be done right now with the injuries I've had. But
yeah.
I don't know. I think the Lord's put a great love in my heart for wrestling, and for whatever reason, it keeps me going. And whether it's going to be in competition or coaching moving forward. After this year when I'm done, I don't know, but I still have that love and that passion for wrestling. So the idea to be done crossed my mind just solely from the fact that my body, sometimes it limits you when you have that many injuries. But I feel like I said, I have the heart for it. I have the passion, the desire more than I've ever had, and that's why I'm, when I'm off the mat, I'm finding things to supplement it. I'm watching film. I'm doing recovery. I'm doing other things that I can do. So the passion is 100% still there for me.
I love that. The heart's so important too because I was going to talk about this in a few minutes, but it's like you see a lot of 5th year, 6th year seniors that come back, whether it's for money, whether it's for I don't want to hang it up yet, whatever. And sometimes you see they can't string it together because their body is so broken down. And if their heart's not in it, for sure, it's going to be definitely hard when you battle injuries and stuff. When did you decide that you not only wanted to wrestle this year, but maybe it was time to transfer?
It's I would say it's been a process over the past month. I have nothing but love for Mizzou and everybody here. And like I said, I want to, like I told everyone, I want to keep all these relationships, for as long as I live. And I'm willing to do that with every single person here. So there's zero bitterness in my heart towards anybody at Mizzou or the program here. And my first 4 years, I really never had a serious thought of transferring. I enjoyed my time here. Things were just a little bit different this past year. Just being off the mat and not getting to really be super involved with the team kind of sucked. Just because you're off to the side, that's the nature of an injury.
Yeah.
I just think, you start thinking about the other opportunities that you can seize for your final year, and that gets really exciting. And I saw in the school that I'm going to commit to that they had a great coaching staff. They have great RTC opportunities for potentially after college. They have great resources in training partners and in recovery, and so that just the opportunity and just new experiences. I mean, life's all about change, and I'm excited to hop in a new opportunity here.
Yeah, and one of them, before we get to the actual decision, big question mark a lot of people have nowadays with the transfer portal is NIL. Such a topic of current of relevancy to the transfer portal. How did NIL factor into all this for you?
Yeah, it's definitely a factor, Bash. It has to be at this stage in the game, and I'll be going to a school with good NIL resources, and I have I have an offer that's it's going to be nice to leave college with that amount of money, but it definitely wasn't my first priority. And I wanted to make that clear just to not only them, but myself when I was doing this recruiting process. I talked with my family about it, and I just said, the money is a factor, but it's definitely not my first priority. If I didn't have my needs met as an athlete at whatever university I was looking at, no dollar amount could have made me go there. So it was a factor, but again, not my guiding factor.
Yeah.
And it was never my intention to go in the portal for just solely for a payday.
Yeah.
Like I said, at the university I'm going to, I feel like I have the flexibility. I have the communication. I have the just the needs that I need for my body to be healthy for March, and I think they're willing to meet those.
I love that. And it's great transparency where it's like, sometimes kids come on and be like, oh, NIL, nah, no big deal. But like, no, it's a factor. And it's a great opportunity for a lot of wrestlers that wouldn't make near that either on the senior level or and just going to get a job as a bank teller, whatever the case may be. So it's nice to hear the truth and transparency there. So, all right, you got a lot of people wondering, where are you transferring to?
Yeah, so I'll be finishing my final year at Iowa State University. Really excited and gonna hope to win a national title for the Clones, and just excited to get out there and work with everybody.
What made you kind of alluded to it with in talking about NIL, where it's like, yeah, money's a factor, but it's not all that's there for you. Why did you choose Iowa State holistically?
Yeah, I mean, I got a chance to go up and have an RTC workout, with younger Bastida, a guy who I have probably the most amount of respect for in the NCAA, because I think that's what battles do, man. When you go to
Yeah.
war with somebody, the respect for them just skyrockets. And, I've seen that with my partners here at Mizzou. I've seen that with athletes that I've wrestled multiple times in college, but Younger's a guy I respect greatly because of our battles, and even we had a little tension in the past, which we've definitely put behind us. We're boys now and everything, and I got to we developed a relationship, and he invited me up there, and I got to work out at the RTC, and got guys like Marcus Coleman and David Carr and Younger, who's going to go in the RTC next year. So it's just it's a great resource for me, and like I said, I think. When you think about their coaching staff, I mean, it's just stacked with guys that know wrestling and accolades. You got Coach Dresser, you got Metcalf, St. John, Perry's going to be added to the staff in about a month, and then got RTC coaches, Younger's coaches around, and NACAR. So it's like all those guys are freaking animals, and I just I want to be a sponge and absorb as much as I can from them when I'm up there, and make sure that I'm getting individuals in, and I'm picking their brain, because that's what I like to do is get in the lab and work on wrestling and work on positions, and kind of just grow my intellect for the sport in a way. And then like I said, the partners as well. You got the 184 pounder from Ryder just committed, which is exciting. You got Marcus Coleman, you got Younger, you got David Carr, and other guys that I'm going to be able to work with. And they showed me, they've told me about the facilities they've had with just for recovery and things like that. So I think it's top notch in all those different areas.
Yeah, I'm curious too. You had some great Christian men around you at Mizzou. You're going to have some more at Iowa State. David Carr, I sincerely believe, is one of the greatest dudes in the sport of wrestling. How much does that factor in when you're making a decision like this, when you think about not just training partners and on the mat fellowship and camaraderie, but off the mat too? Like, there's some really solid dudes at Iowa State, like Carr. How does that factor in for you?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a huge factor. It's funny. Carr just called me this morning when I got in the portal and was like, "Hey, man, we're super excited to have you. I know we're going to grow in our faith together, and we have a lot of guys here that you can have fellowship with." And the fact that I didn't even have to ask, and he told me that was a good sign for me. So
Yeah.
definitely something that's important for me is having a community. I think even when I got here at Mizzou, I was pleasantly surprised that there was a good, faithful community. They have athletes in action here at Mizzou that I went to, and I really just, got to know a lot of people that I shared the same faith with, and I think those are the relationships that probably the strongest relationships in my life are built on faith, and I don't think it's going to be any different at Iowa State. I think there's going to be a great community for me to jump in.
Yeah. And, I think I have maybe given Dresser more vocal praise than any coach in the past year, because I love how transparent he is. I've talked about it on the show. I talked about it when I had him on this podcast. Like, I love how transparent he is about the athletes and how, forthcoming he is about just talking about what's going on. So I think it's an awesome fit for you. And I'm curious, as you head into a new room, new system, new staff, how do you approach that kind of transition mentally and physically, especially where it's like this late in your career? You're used to kind of a system at Mizzou, and now you're kind of changing gears up when, it's typically you'd see 4 years and it's like, okay, now it's senior level. You're like, you did your 4 years at Mizzou, and now you got this bonus year you want to take advantage of. Whole new system, whole new staff, everything. How do you kind of approach that?
Yeah, great question, Bash. It's one of those things where, like I said, I told him these are my needs. I need to be able to have flexibility in my schedule with competition and training, and it has nothing to do with me, not trusting you guys or wanting to be off the mat. If I could be on the mat every single day, 7 days a week, I would be. But for the sake of my body and preparing my body for nationals, here's what I think we can adjust a little bit and make some adjustments in the training and the competition. So, just the fact that they met those needs, and it was them saying, initiating, "Hey, we believe you can be a national champion," and just, hey, we want to meet these needs. We're sensitive with your body. We're flexible with you. We want to collaborate with you. So it
Yeah.
was just refreshing to hear, the coaches come out and say, "Hey, we want to work with you." I didn't even have to ask and say, "Hey, these are my needs. I need them met." And like, it didn't feel like I was like dragging them along into, what my ideal situation. It was more like, "Hey, we're coming together and we're going to collaborate and make the ideal situation for you to be prepared for March." And my goals aligned with them. Like I said, being a national champion is something I want to do at Iowa State, and that's something they came out and said, "This is our goal for you." And like I said, everything in the regular season is preparation for that. So it just felt right because our goals aligned, our idea of training aligned, and for being in my 5th year and having had the surgeries I've had, we just aligned with everything.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny how fast news spreads because it's like
Yeah, absolutely.
you get in the portal and it's like within 20 minutes there's rumors online like hearing Rock Elam into the portal, and then on the same time now it's like, okay, where's he going? And then you start hearing leaks, you start hearing questions, and one of the big questions people had was about your brother Zach. He went out to the Scarlet Knights training center, so people instantly thought, hey, Rutgers for you? Did you give that much of a thought, especially with your brother heading out there? What was that like?
Yeah, Bash, it's funny, man, because it's just funny to watch people like, play the guessing game. Like
Yeah.
I know where I'm going, and it's just kind of funny. Like people are so sure of themselves. I'm like, I don't know where they get this info because, I talk to people tight in my circle, but I really didn't leak too much, like really any information. I talked to my coaches, my teammates, you, my family, and guys like that. But yeah, I would say, I considered all my options. I would say Iowa State definitely showed the most interest in me, and squeaky wheel gets the oil with that. They contacted me. They were very interested in me. I could tell that they were very willing to work with me, and I heard other schools. I heard, oh, this school's interested in you. Well, we'd love to have you. Da da da. But not much beyond there, and I can't really work with that. But Iowa State showed the genuine interest to pursue me, and more credit to them. They got me for it. So.
I love that. And you've battled plenty of Big 12 guys in your career. How does it feel not to be joining one of the, I don't want to call them maybe a rival program? It's like you're becoming a tradition kind of from the other side in the Big 12 now. How's that feel for you?
Yeah, man. I mean, I love the Big 12 schedule. That's why, transferring to a Big 12 school was something that I was interested in. I felt like in the past it's prepared me well. Coach Smith puts together an amazing schedule that we get competition in, but it prepares us for the postseason. And I have a obviously very similar, if not the same, schedule at Iowa State. And like I said, just with the flexibility in there, I have some options and stuff. So that was just even more of a pro that it's a familiar schedule, and that I'll still be close to home and still won't be far and everything. And so there was just I think the Big 12 schedule has been a good thing to prepare me for the postseason in my career.
You kind of alluded to this one earlier with not really knowing what you're going to do after this year, but obviously LA 2028 Olympics is really exciting for everybody in the US because it's like home base Olympics. And I'm curious for you, when making the decision to transfer to Iowa State, how much of that was, I want to make sure I have a solid RTC if I do want to keep competing and training for the Olympics, or did you kind of keep that separate and say, I'm just worried about this year and then we'll figure out next year? I'm always curious because when you have a guy transfer for 1 year, I'm always curious. It's like you've seen sometimes, like Buchanan just announced he's going to stick around and train with the Hawkeye Wrestling Club. Other times, like you had Soriano at Michigan for a year, and then he headed out to the West Coast. Kind of, we've seen it play out both directions. For you, how did that factor into this?
Yeah, I definitely kept my RTC options in mind, or what I wanted to do after college, and my plan right now is to wrestle after college. Lord willing, my body is healthy and everything, and I still have the love for it. I'll keep doing it. So in LA 2028, that's obviously the goal. That's what
Yeah.
everybody's looking forward to right now. In this, Iowa State, they said they would love to have me on their RTC next year after I got done if I wanted to keep wrestling. So they even showed interest there, which was just another plus, telling me about their RTC athletes and just the payment that they give to financially support you. It's an ideal situation. Hopefully, in the process of getting my citizenship for Italy, so hopefully I can wrestle under the Italian flag for this cycle to finish out this cycle. Got to get some things sorted with finishing that process and talking to some people at USA Wrestling, but that was just something that my family is very excited about.
Do you have an Italian horn on? I think that's a prerequisite.
You gotta have the I should. Let me go get mine. Real quick. But no, that's the crucifix and the horn combination is iconic. But so my mother is full Italian, and I've just grown up in the heritage. All my family lives in Kansas City, and it's some of my family members' dreams for me to go over there and be able to wrestle under that flag. So it's definitely more of a pride and a heritage thing as opposed to me just trying to get out of there and get a spot. It's definitely something that has great sentimental value for me, and I'm hoping USA Wrestling will allow me to step over there and do that. And like I said, I got to finish out that process and chat with them and see how it all goes. But I'm really hopeful for it.
I love that. All right, Rocky, last question. I've been trying to be diligent with leaving this question for last on when I have guys on here announcing their transfers. I'm not going to ask you about Josh Allen. You had an incredible career at Missouri. You've had, third, fourth, fifth, sixth place finishes, I think, 4-time All-American. Yeah. When you reflect on your time at Mizzou, how much did that mean to you and for your development of who you are and how you are now?
Oh, man, tremendously. I mean, when I was looking back making this decision, I mean, the hardest part about it was just leaving Mizzou, leaving my roots, my home. I'm born and raised in Kansas City. And so we've always, had an opportunity to come down to Mizzou and develop a relationship even with the athletes, because my dad would have summer camps and he would bring the athletes in. So literally since Ben Askren, these guys were coming in and working with us. And so filtering through. And so I got the fortunate opportunity to get to know some of these athletes, when I was just a kid looking up to them. And, I filled that position for 5 years. And it was a dream come true. And it'll always be a special thing for me to know that I was able to put on the black and gold and step out there and support my home state, and I was, it felt like, leaving Mizzou almost felt like a breakup. It's like, it's one of those things that's super, super sad and, shed some tears for sure. But at the same time, you just feel like you have faith that this next opportunity is a good one and it's the right choice for you. So it was without a doubt sad. And like I said, without a doubt, I would be more than willing to keep all my relationships that I have here and visit Columbia anytime I'm welcome. But I got nothing but love for Mizzou, and it'll stay that way for a long time.
Have you officially graduated from there? So you've been there for 5 years. Are you a graduate transfer? Did you graduate there?
Yeah. So I'm a grad student right now. I'm in this math called positive coaching. Some people laugh at me when I say that. They think it's not real, but I can. It is real and it is beneficial. And but no, Mizzou started the program, and I mean it's freaking awesome. They got a lot of cool classes in there that are definitely applicable to coaching, even applicable to me as a wrestler. I've learned stuff where I'm like, man, I could use this in my training. So, but I don't know what it's going to look like yet from my academic situation at Iowa State. I think it's going to be more of a certificate, and hopefully I can finish my master's here. So we'll see.
I love that. All right, Rocky, thank you for making time. We got to get this interview out before the information already seems to be leaking out there. Are any freestyle plans for the summer coming up?
Most likely not.
Okay.
I think I'm going out to Vegas just to watch, to sit in some corners and to look good. But no, I'm just kidding. But I'll be out there. I always love going to that tournament, and it's always a blast. So I'll be out there watching. I don't have any plans right now to wrestle freestyle this summer.
I love it. It's all right. Get healthy. Take your time. Yep. Rest up. Maybe come up to Rochester if you want. We'll go to the Bills training camp. Watch.
Absolutely. Jump through some tables, man.
There's nothing like it, man. All right, Rocky, thank you for making the time, and we'll chat soon.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
Awesome. See you, man.